Good evening, everybody. How are you doing today? Just like a few housekeeping things before we get going. If you're using a computer, there's a section called the Q&A function. That's the question and answer function. So if you have a question, we encourage you to put it in the Q&A function rather than the chat so it doesn't get lost. You're welcome to use the chat function to type in some thoughts, or if you want to throw out a question, by all means, but we do prefer the Q&A. But before you do that, in your chat function, there's a section that says all panelists at the bottom there. If you actually hit that little arrow pointing downwards and switch from all panelists to all panelists and attendees, they can actually see, everyone can see your question. That'd be great. And we are at the end. Colleen Santini of Soul Trek is going to be doing some meditation and yoga at the end of the session for about 10 minutes or so. So if you have time now, it's time to grab your yoga mat or get a comfy chair as alternative, and you can go through some of the exercises at the end. So let's get prepared for that. Hi, everyone. Hi, Nadia. It's great to see you. But before we start to get in, let's jump into our first poll and warm people up and their clicking of the polls. So the first one that we have is, how many hours are you sleeping right now? So Rebeka will have that first poll there. So guys, type it in. Let's see what answers are we going to get. We've got about 33 people. That's great. Is everybody seeing the poll right now live?
I saw it. Hopefully the attendees do. Yeah.
So 14% right now are saying 4 hours or less, 45% reporting 4 to 6 hours, and 44% 6 to 8 hours, 3%, one person, 8 hours or more. Okay, not bad. So share the results. You guys take a look at that. And then we're going to move on to our next poll here, and let's see what people say here. And let's go to our alcohol question. Maybe that's a popular question there. Does alcohol help with sleep?
Does true mean yes and false mean no?
That's right. I should have said no. And okay, we didn't.
I wish
we didn't trick anybody on this one. Okay, so everybody knows. I think and Lisa and anybody else can chime in. I think it can help get you to sleep faster, but the quality of the sleep will not be there.
That's right. Yeah, it's actually a sedative. So you feel like you're sleeping, but it's actually not true sleep, and you don't get into REM sleep as much or at all when you drink alcohol too. So yeah, we can talk about that a little more. But everybody said false.
100%.
Because some people like their nightcap, right?
Okay, so everybody knows that's one thing that we're sharing out on our checklist is not to have alcohol before you go to bed. That's good. Okay, so we've got about an hour, and so we're going to move right along here, but I'm going to do a quick introduction of everybody, and we're excited to see you guys here. And so I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Darrell. I am the owner of Satori Health and Wellness. I have a clinic in Midtown Toronto that has massage therapy and osteopathy. And everybody, let's chime in. What's your favorite sleep strategy? And for me, the favorite sleep strategy that I have here is actually going to my Amazon Alexa and asking for cricket sounds. And, I put on the cricket sounds, and that helps me a lot with the sleeping. What about for you, Rebeka?
Other than my oils that I'm going to talk about tonight, I like doing a bit of a brain dump. I go to bed as soon as my head hits the pillow, and I think it's because I just write in my agenda all the things that I'm thinking about for the next day or an idea that I have, because I'm an ideas person. So I find brain dumping right before helps my mind shut off for the night.
Yeah, and mine, I really find it needs to be cool in the house. So even if we have the heat on in the day, I know it's not environmentally friendly. Sometimes we'll turn the air on just to cool it to 18 degrees or so. And then I have a weighted blanket that has cooling glass beads too. So I'll talk more about that, but those are my two really important strategies.
Great strategies. So I'm a person who is extremely sensitive to caffeine. I can't really drink it. I I had a sty in my eye this week, and I put a tea bag on it, and I couldn't sleep the whole night. And so I don't even have to drink it. So no caffeine for me, and I do have to have physical activity. Otherwise, my brain is going a mile a minute, and I cannot sleep. So I need physical activity and not drinking caffeine and completing my communication cycles, which I will talk about later.
Whoa, that's a 4-for-1 there. That was just one strategy. So you guys got a lot of bonus there. We do have a fifth panelist, Cam Singh. She's an osteopath at my clinic. She's just going to jump in from time to time there. We just have to have more experts if we think is better. So if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. This is our agenda for today. So Dr. Lisa Weeks is going to talk about just an introduction to sleep. Rebeka is going to talk about essential oils and sleep. I'm going to talk about the manual therapies at our clinic. And then Lisa Weeks is going to talk about how to sleep more naturally. Colleen Santini is going to be talking about how to sleep more deeply. The bonus section, actually, Rebeka is going to talk about that, and then we'll have a little Q&A, and then meditation and yoga that Colleen's going to lead us through. But our next poll that we're going to have is sleep challenges. So let's see what that poll is all about. Our next poll, you guys get ready for your mouse clicking. Who's currently experiencing sleep challenges?
Oh, sorry, Roberta, forever. Oh, well, we're glad you're here.
Okay, well, it looks like, it's a big number. 78% of people are experiencing sleep challenges. So we're glad that you're here. We're going to have lots of chatting. It sounds like that people who are concerned. So thanks very much for giving your thoughts on that. Perfect. Some people are not sure. So 16%, so 5 of them. We'll figure that out as we go along here. So up next here is going to be Lisa. She's going to do our introduction now.
All right. So before we get into how to get a good night's sleep, what is a good night's sleep? So adults, regardless of their age, need about 7 to 9 hours. As we get older, we feel like we need less, but we still actually need at least 7 hours of sleep. Ideally, you fall asleep within 20 minutes, 30 minutes at the longest time span. If you're in bed more than 20 minutes and not sleeping, it's a good strategy to get out of bed, or else you can start to associate being in bed without sleeping. And when you wake up in the night, you should be able to fall back asleep pretty quickly. You may not feel like you wake up at all, but usually you wake up between sleep cycles. You have sleep cycles that last 90 to 110 minutes. Maybe you'll have about 4 of those, 5 of those in the evening. You might wake up between sleep cycles, but you should be able to fall back asleep really easy or not be totally alert. Ideally, you're waking up before your alarm. So that means you've been rested, you've gotten enough sleep, and you want to get out of bed. You want to have the same bedtime and wake time, regardless of if it's the weekend or the weekdays. Because just think, if you're up 3 hours later on the weekend, it's like you've traveled to a different time zone and you expect your body to bounce back the next night, right? So Sunday nights can be a big problem for people because they've thrown off their sleep schedule on the weekend or they sleep in a lot. And then people do have their own optimal bedtime. So you can have different chronotypes. You could be a night owl where you do better staying up late, still probably getting to bed by about 11. Teenagers have a later time that they usually want to go to bed at. You might be a morning lark, so you go to bed a little bit earlier, but you're still trying to get that good window of sleep. And I'll switch to the next slide. Yeah, I guess I can't do that. And what are the health benefits of sleep? So we know we feel good when we get a good night's sleep. I think that's a no-brainer, but it actually increases our lifespan. So the less sleep you get, the shorter is your lifespan as well as your health span. So those are the years that you're going to feel healthy and be able to enjoy your life. It affects everything from your head to your toes. So it can affect your brain and your mood and your memory. So it helps us consolidate memories when you sleep and process what's happened during the day and then problem solve. We actually clean out our brain when we're sleeping. We have what's called the glymphatic system. It's like our lymphatic system in our body, but it clears itself out even of those beta amyloid plaques that can contribute to dementia. So if you're not going to get enough sleep, you're more likely to suffer from dementia. We know it affects our mood, anxiety is triggered, depression is worse. We have centers in our brain that are activated more readily if you don't get enough sleep. So you're more emotionally reactive. So, you snap at your partner more, your kids more, you're going to cry at the drop of a hat. You can feel just like not yourself at all. And then let's talk about the heart and diabetes risk. So when people didn't get enough sleep, they were 45% more likely to develop or die from a heart disease within 25 years. And there's an interesting stat. So we just had daylight savings time. So when you lose that hour of sleep, there's a 24% increase in heart attacks due to that. And even accident rates mirror that as well. So people are more likely to get into a car accident. Drowsy driving actually has higher statistical numbers than drinking and drug use combined behind the wheel. So it's a pretty big deal. And then you can gain more weight. So when you don't get enough sleep, who craves more carbohydrates, more sugar? You just feel like you're hungry all day because it messes with your hormones. You release more ghrelin. This is a hormone that makes you feel hungry. And you also can't process your food as well. You can't process glucose the same way. Your insulin's not working well. And typically you eat 300 more calories a day when you're not getting a good night's sleep. Immunity, it's key for as well. For people who got less than 6 hours sleep, they doubled their risk of getting cancer. And then another study showed they were 32% more likely to catch the common cold without enough sleep. So I think we know just our defenses are down. So we really want to focus on getting a good night's sleep, and that's why we're here. So let me advance to the next slide. There are different phases of the sleep cycle. We're not going to go too deep into this, but the 5 stages comprise that 90 to 110 minutes. First you're kind of awake and then you're falling asleep. Stage 2, you're getting into a light sleep. Stage 3 and 4 is where a lot of that memory consolidation happens. Stage 5, you're actually pretty alert. Your brain waves are close to when you're awake, but you can't move your body. Your muscles are paralyzed. Your eyes are moving. You're dreaming. But that's a really important time to integrate everything that's happened to you and then be able to problem solve. You get less REM sleep in the first few cycles. And as the night goes on, your REM sleep is longer. So people that don't get enough sleep don't get that REM. They're not going to get those benefits. So you really want to make sure you're getting enough sleep because then you're going to get more REM sleep as well. So that's my kind of overview of sleep. And I know there was a lot of information in a short amount of time, but let me know if you have any questions. We can address them after. Oh, Darrell, you're muted.
Yeah, thank you. We've got a couple raised hands. If you guys have some questions, just stick it into the Q&A or into the chat, and we'll try to address it as best we can, or we'll leave it towards the end there. Thank you so much. Rebeka, we're off to Rebeka, and essential oil is one of our first things to how to get better sleep.
Hi everyone, I'm Becca. I'm the founder of Adult Living, and I am a doTERRA wellness advocate, and I connect people to really great essential oils and plant-based products. So that's what I'm going to focus on. I don't know if the slides are advancing on. Darrell, are you doing that? There we go. So let's get right into it. So I wanted to talk about why essential oils, why we're going to talk about this when we're talking about sleep. And I want you to think about someone having open heart surgery for a second, okay? Run with me for a second. When someone goes to have surgery, they don't get injected with anything to be sedated so that they can have the surgery performed on them. They have a mask, the anesthetic placed over their face, and they're asked to take deep breaths in and count down from 10 to 0. By the time they get to 3, they are completely sedated and you can perform open heart surgery. And why is it that that happens so quickly? It's because doctors know that the fastest way to your brain is through your olfactory system. So when you're breathing that in, it is sending signals to your limbic system in your brain, to the rest of your body, and telling it to do something. In this case, be sedated so you don't feel any pain while we open up your chest and perform heart surgery. So that's why I want to talk about essential oils when it comes to sleep, because I want you to think how fast, and as you saw from my example, within seconds, breathing something in can send signals to your limbic system and tell your body to do things. And the oils that I'm going to talk about tonight tell your body to calm down and relax, which is what a lot of us need before we go to sleep. So that's why essential oils. I could have filled this slide with about like 80 different things, and I just picked a couple for tonight, but we can always chat more. And maybe those of you who use oils can put in the chat some of your favorites, because I can guarantee you I barely put any for you to see tonight. But Serenity is such a beautiful go-to blend. And you ask any doTERRA wellness advocate, and it's because it's literally called the Restful Blend. And it's a mix of florals and wood oils. And when you look at the chemical constituents of wood oils, they have something called sesquiterpenes in it, which have been studied to help calm you. And florals have something called esters in it, and linalool, which really helps you calm as well. So when you put those together, which is what this bottle is, you're getting like a walk in a forest and a walk in a beautiful field of flowers, and it's so calming to your body and your system. So that's the oil. You can diffuse it, you can rub it on the bottom of your feet. There's also a capsule, and last week when we presented this, we talked about the sledgehammer effect, which is when you are on like a prescription medication for sleeping. Yes, it is going to totally sledgehammer knock you out, but you're also going to wake up feeling quite groggy. And with what the study that's been done on these is you have a restful night and you wake up feeling refreshed in the morning. And it's because it's all natural ingredients. So lavender is in there, German chamomile, lemon balm, passion flower, and L-theanine, which has been studied for its calming effects on the nervous system. So that would be a natural alternative to a sledgehammer knock you out prescription drug. For cedar wood, I just picked one wood oil, but again, diffusing it. I love pairing cedar wood with lavender. You can put it on the bottom of your feet, you can diffuse it, and it's just, again, a beautiful way to relax. And for me personally, it's one thing to diffuse and have that inhaled and, sending those signals down to your body, but I fall asleep honestly within seconds of my head hitting the pillow because I write out my stuff before, but I am a light sleeper. So I'll wake up with certain lights being flicked on or sounds, but I find when I apply oils topically as well as diffusing, it really helps me stay asleep. The next slide here, I want you to think about a little bit outside the box, because there's so many different reasons people don't sleep. As we were chatting with the early birds before we started this webinar, people were saying, I have pain and that makes me not sleep, right? So it's not just because you can't calm down. Breathe is our respiratory oil. And so many of my customers, when I ask them what their favorite sleep oil is, the answer is Breathe. So a respiratory blend, because if you think about it, if you can breathe better, you can sleep better, right? If you're able to get more oxygen in at night, so diffusing this, again, putting it on the bottom of your feet. It's also the anti-snore oil. So if you're not sleeping because your partner's snoring, then this has been the saving oil for many marriages. Wild orange, again, not something you think of with sleep, but if you're not sleeping because you're sad, or angry or have a negative emotion, which honestly during this last year, a lot of people have been experiencing. Wild orange has something called a monoterpene. It's a mood lifter. It literally lifts your mood. So if you're going to bed happy, you're going to sleep better. Vetiver, we talked about mind chatter, thinking about your to-do list for the next day, or your mind just won't shut off. Vetiver is like hibernation oil. That's what we nickname it in our family. So this is like the big guns for us. So if we really are having trouble getting to sleep, vetiver, it's thick like a maple syrup. You can diffuse it, you can put it on topically, and it just helps you kind of shut down. And peppermint. I know peppermint is associated, for me, it's my morning oil. I love it to like wake me up and energize me. But I've had two women who messaged me. I have their testimonies written down. They said, Becca, I had the longest sleep in the longest time last night because of peppermint. Let me tell you why. They are going through hormonal changes and they get hot sweats at night and hot flashes at night. And so they put peppermint diluted on the hot spots. So they put it under their armpits, between their breasts and the back of their knees, all the places that get hot, and they had the best sleep. So I want you to think outside the box, right? It's not just the calming oils that can help you sleep. Think of the reason why you're not sleeping in the first place. Is it because you're congested? Is it because you're sad and your emotions are down? Is it mind chatter? Is it because you're hot? And then tackle it where it needs to be tackled. And the last slide here, I just want to remind us to always look at things holistically, right? So essential oils are really effective for mild sleep issues, right? And, we're going to go deeper with Darrell and Dr. Lisa and Colleen tonight, but if you have, kind of a normal sleep issue, or, a lot of people find they're sleeping better because of their pain is less when they're using certain pain oils for sleep, it can help you. But anything deeper, that's why I absolutely love my health team, because we work in such a, synergistic way, so you can get all the layers of support. And I just wanted to point you to this picture. This is doTERRA's wellness lifestyle, and it's just always a good reminder to ask ourselves, when we're not sleeping well, how are we eating? What are we eating? When are we eating? Are we drinking enough water? When are we drinking that water? Are we exercising, moving our body? How are we managing our rest and our stress? What about our toxic load? Do we have chemicals and cleaners all in our house that are disrupting our hormones, which are disrupting our sleep? So there's all these beautiful, I think, questions to ask yourself when it comes to why you're not getting a good sleep. And I like to think of the four of us as the detectives, just to be able to listen to what you're going through and really be able to help you in a powerful way. So that is it for me. I'm going to pass it on to Darrell.
Thank you, Becca. My wife actually likes the Serenity essential oil that I give her when we go to bed, and she's got that lavender smell, so she really enjoys that. So Becca, everybody, if you're interested in essential oils, Becca is great at helping you step through all the process and ordering and whatnot. So use her. I'm going to talk about sleep and hands-on therapy. And as you know, as I mentioned, there's two services that I offer, massage therapy and osteopathy. So I got a couple of massage therapists and a couple of osteopaths. And, let's talk about the massage therapy first. And here, we know that massage therapy is used to reduce tension, and, the question that's on everybody's mind, we're still open. Yes, we're at Eglinton Avenue Road. There's a picture of our clinic here on the right side. What I suggest, if you're new to massage and if you're looking to think if massage therapy helps you with your sleep, is to try for a focus massage, 30 minutes. Some of our therapists have reported about 40% of their clients fall asleep when they actually start to massage the neck. And so I highly recommend that you try this towards the end of your day. Massage is really great for sleep. It has the benefits of, if you have conditions such as cancer or some other, migraines and whatnot, and chronic pain, massage can help to relieve that. I know some people were mentioning in the chat, they have some pain that is keeping them up at night, and that's something that can be addressed if you talk to one of our osteopaths or one of our massage therapists. But if your sleep is a little bit more complex, or depending on the situation, you might want to see an osteopathic manual practitioner. That might be the right choice. What is osteopathy? Well, we do have an osteopath, Cam, and she can jump in a moment here, but basically it's a hands-on therapy that works to resolve pain in a variety of areas, such as the back, the neck, maybe even digestive, and even headaches. Globally, there are tens of thousands of practitioners are practicing manual osteopathy. So if you want to learn more, just type it in the chat and we can follow up a little bit afterwards. One of the things that osteopaths work is to improve the blood flow and define any of the restrictions. And so that can certainly help with sleep. And the way I've been told how osteopathy works for improving sleep is a lot of the times when we go to work, we're in this fight or flight system. That's why we have that stress and, our shoulders get tensed up or we get those headaches. And so, the analogy that I have is when you're like in Star Trek, you raise your shields, you got to divert energy to the shields. Now the osteopath's actually job is to transfer the energy from the fight or flight system and transfer that over to the rest and digest system. And so they're working to balance that system out. Perhaps Cami, you wanted to join in. Is there anything else you want to add to this section?
Wow, there's so much I could say, but I know I could talk forever about osteopathy. I'm sorry. But having said that, essentially osteopathy and massage, like any of these manual therapies, there's something to be said about rhythms And to Darrell's point, you know, the whole parasympathetics really responds to the rhythms, because nature's rhythm, right? So we have a sleep cycle, sleep wake cycle that is rhythmic as well. And to gain some decrease, not to gain, sorry, to decrease like the stress levels, rhythm actually helps to kind of ease that flow. So that's kind of what I wanted to share about that.
Super. Thank you very much. And so now we're going to go on to our checklist here. So I actually attended, does anybody type in the chat, tell me what type of glasses I'm wearing, or sunglasses I'm wearing. I attended a webinar by Dr. Michael Bruce, and he's kind of a sleep expert a couple of weeks ago. So I created this checklist, and everybody's going to get a copy of this checklist. So don't worry about copying everything down. But I'm going to just talk quickly about what are some of the things that you should go before, what you should do before you go to bed. So avoid the electronics. And so one way to avoid the electronics is to have these glasses that block out the blue light. That can interrupt your sleep. That's why I've got these on there. My wife makes fun of me when I go to bed with this, but you know, if you are, you know, want to cut out, if you can't cut out your electronics, this is one way to cut out the blue light. And you should always avoid electronics probably 90 minutes before. Taking a bath or a shower is one way to relax, doing a little bit of light reading. The sleep doctor, 60 minutes before bed, he does this 20 minutes. He's planning, you know, writing down some stuff, planning for tomorrow. 20 minutes just to get ready for bed by brushing his teeth and whatnot. And then 20 minutes, he has an opportunity to meditate, pray, or doing some journaling. And so that's kind of a sleep, it's also known as your sleep hygiene. But one thing that we don't necessarily realize is that you have a checklist for going to bed, but there's also a checklist that you can have for getting up. Oh, sorry, before we go on that, if you are looking for glasses, I just put this in the last minute. Everybody, we've seen Helen actually at the Eye Candy Opticians that offers glasses. So if you want something a little bit more stylish, go talk to Helen. So this is what you should be doing before you get, it's actually not before you go to bed. It's, let's see, where are we going here? When you wake up in the morning here. So here's a checklist that the sleep doctor does. So wake up the same time every day. And yes, if you are asking, it is also on the weekend. So imagine people who have kids, don't you guys have the same sleep time for your kids, 7 or 8 p.m., whatever it is? I think there is some advice that we should, take our own medicine. So if we have our kids on a regular sleep schedule, why shouldn't we? And so you wake up at the same time every day. I've been doing this is to take 5 deep breaths before you get up, and then you swing your feet off the bed. And before you do anything, you drink a glass of water, if not 2. And the statistics that we have here is that you lose about 1 liter of water every night when you sleep. So that's why you do that, get up, get some sunlight, preferably going outdoors, and you avoid drinking immediately. I'm not saying that you can't drink coffee, but since it's a diuretic and can dry you out, your first drink should probably be getting some water. So that's so the checklist, as I said, everybody's going to get that for, how to go to bed and what you do at the beginning. And we're going to, just before we talk to Dr. Lisa Weeks, we're going to go to our next poll about napping. So does napping harm your sleep? Okay, so it looks like that 68% of people think it's false. I'll let Dr. Lisa Weeks answer this one.
Okay, great. Yeah, with napping, having a short power nap may benefit you. If it's not, as long as it's not going to impact your sleep at night, right? If you can get that big chunk of sleep, 7 to 9 hours all at once, that's ideal. But, as a mom of a little kid, sometimes that doesn't happen. But we really have a hard time. We're not able to make up that sleep debt. But a short nap can really recharge you and energize you. And they've studied this in NASA. 26 minutes to, I think, 50 minutes was kind of the maximum. But ideally you're getting it all in one chunk at night. But if you need to get it in the afternoon, go ahead. But people don't realize napping is actually when you're falling asleep on the couch at night. And that may be impacting your sleep negatively, because then you associate falling asleep to being on the couch, and you get to bed and you're wide awake. You're like, wait a minute, what's happening? So just be careful. Those are some hidden naps that people don't consider, even if it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead with some natural ways to support sleep. So we can advance the slide. Darrell, please. Oh, there's my website. That's okay. No problem.
Obviously technical difficulties there, but it's shameless promotion. There we go.
Oh, thank you. Cam talked about our natural rhythms, right? So we really are supposed to follow the sun, right? We're supposed to wake up when the sun rises and go to bed when the sun sets, if we didn't live in a world where we were in houses and we needed artificial lighting, right? Because those signals are messages to our brain to release certain hormones or turn off certain hormones. So when the sun rises, that's our trigger for melatonin, our sleep triggering hormone, to stop being produced from our brain. And that's also the trigger for cortisol to start increasing. Cortisol is our stress hormone, but we need it. We need it to be released at the right amounts at the right times. It's supposed to be highest in the morning. So you want to get out of bed and start your day. As the day goes on, the cortisol starts to drop. Ideally, you're dimming your lights, you're not on too many screens. Your body registers it's nighttime. So that cortisol drops, then that melatonin is starting to release and peaks while you're sleeping after a few hours of sleep. So you want to see daylight first thing in the morning, even if it's not sunny out, get outside. You want to wear your blue blocker glasses leading up to bed, dim the lights. We have red light bulbs in our house. I bought red, cool dude, Darrell. I bought red night lights for Stuart's room, so it doesn't release that blue light that interferes with your melatonin production. Oh, if we could go backwards for a sec, sorry, Darrell. I don't know if you can see with your glasses on. And then there's something called adenosine that helps build up our sleep pressure. So we start to release it as the day goes on, and it accumulates in our brain, and it's being taken up to tell our body we're getting sleepy. And it should be at its highest when we go to sleep. But if you have caffeine, even from green tea, black tea, chocolate, obviously coffee, that binds up instead of the adenosine. So you get a boost, but you're probably going to crash more later, because that adenosine is still building up on like in between the receptors. But once that caffeine is gone, it's bound up and you crash and you're totally exhausted. But then your rhythm's thrown off to have that sleep debt when it actually becomes nighttime. So you really want to be careful with your caffeine intake. Caffeine has a half-life of 6 hours, but that means it's a quarter life is 12 hours. So it may impact your sleep if you're drinking it after lunchtime. For some people, they can't even have it in the morning. So really being conscious of that. Darrell talked about the autonomic nervous system. So that's either our fight or flight arm, the sympathetic nervous system, or the parasympathetic nervous system. Living in a pandemic, we're probably in the sympathetic nervous system. We're fighting for our lives, right? We're having a hard time settling down. If you're living in that part of the nervous system, you're probably wired but tired. You want to sleep, but you just can't, because your body's on high alert. It thinks it's going to be attacked. So with the essential oils, with osteopathy, massage, with yoga, there's different herbs and lifestyle changes that can get you into the parasympathetic, which is our rest and digest phase. So we want to support getting you into that to support a good quality sleep and enough sleep. Blood sugar impacts our sleep. So how many people, after having a glass or two of wine at night, or they're having some desserts before they go to bed or sweets, they wake up at 3 in the morning and they're wide awake, right? What happens is your blood sugar dips. Alcohol is a form of sugar, right? So your blood sugar goes up and then it crashes, your blood sugar dips, and your body goes into panic mode and says, where's my glucose? I need this for my brain. That triggers the release of cortisol. So that's going to throw off that cycle. Your cortisol is going to peak at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., whatever time that is, and you're going to feel wide awake. So you want to limit or avoid alcohol before bed, have it with food at the very minimum, avoiding those sugary treats too, having healthy fat, healthy protein, and not eating too close to bedtime. We know hormones can impact our sleep, especially perimenopause and menopause. If females are sweating, your body temperature is not going to drop that 1 degree it's supposed to, and you're not going to get into that deep sleep. You need your body temperature to be lower to then release the most amount of melatonin. So it all works together. So you want to assess some of these levels. So if we can advance, Darrell, please. So I can test some of these levels. I can actually test your melatonin through a urine test. It's really cool to get done, as well as your cortisol, your stress hormone levels at different times of the day to see if your rhythm's actually off. You know, if you're doing shift work, if you're staying inside all day, you're working in a basement, you're on screens all night, you're most likely going to have this cortisol dysregulation or adrenal dysregulation. And if you don't deal with that, you're going to need sledgehammers to get you to sleep, but that's not going to be real quality sleep. I can get hormones tested as well for perimenopause and menopause, and I have tools to help balance these depending on where the issues are. Darrell talked about setting the stage for sleep. So yes, that routine, we know what happens with kids if they don't stick to their sleep routine. You know, they're so cranky and everything's thrown out the window. Lower your temperature, dim your lights. Usually around 16 to 18 degrees Celsius is about optimal for a good quality sleep. You want to eat to sleep well, but not eat too close to bed because your body temperature is going to go up a bit and then your energy is being used for digestion. So if you're going to eat something, eat it a couple of hours before bed. Things like cheese, deli meat, chocolate, so chocolate because of the caffeine too, but these have tyramine in them, which can actually be stimulating to your brain. So they may contribute to keeping you awake. Whereas yes, those tryptophan containing foods may help you sleep because it's on the pathway to make melatonin. So pumpkin seeds are a great snack for supporting sleep. There's even a supplement where it's ground up pumpkin seeds, but that could be something you could consider using before bed, but not too close. And we talked about alcohol and caffeine. And alcohol, yes, it'll stop you from getting into that REM sleep too. And you'll wake up because your blood sugar dips, so that cortisol is triggered. So there's different nutrients and supplements. Yes, you could go to the health food store and go to the sleep section, but everybody's individual as to why they're not sleeping, right? So these are options out there depending on the cause. Melatonin, we make less as we age. It's important if you're suffering from jet lag. You don't want to take too much because then you can get really groggy and also have some vivid or wild dreams. Usually 1 to 3 milligrams is more than enough. Magnesium is great to relax tight muscles, to calm the nervous system. Different herbs like passion flower. I'm drinking my Tulsi tea right now, so hopefully I don't fall asleep during the yoga part, but that helps me to relax at night. There's other supplements you can take, but again, talk to your healthcare practitioner to make sure that they're right for you. And Darrell, if we can advance. And then I have all my favorite sleep aid tools. So I talked about red light bulbs. You can just buy them at the Home Depot, put those in your bathroom, put those in your bedroom, on your nightstand when you're reading. White noise machine, just if you're in the city and it's too loud, if that's impacting your sleep, that's something you could use. You can get blackout blinds. Night and day window decor has these, so you can get these for your room. I wear a sleep mask and earplugs. I have my blue blocker glasses. I know I'm so attractive when it comes to bedtime, but you do what you got to do, right? Because sleep is so important. I mentioned that weighted blanket. I like the Zonli one. I have no affiliation with them, but it's really cooling and it weighs 15 pounds. So it's like a swaddle for an adult. It helps to induce that parasympathetic nervous system, right? You feel safe, you feel relaxed. There's an app you can get called the Sleep Cycle app, and it tracks your movements and your breathing while you're sleeping. You can put it on airplane mode, but then it can tailor your alarm within a half-hour window either way. So it's not waking you up when you're in the deepest phase of sleep. So you're not going to be startled and feel like you're starting your day off, on a really bad foot. And it tells you how you're in those different phases of sleep and for how long. And then essential oils as well can be another tool too, in yoga and osteopathy and massage. So that's it from me.
Just before we go to Colleen, we have our last poll. Oh, we have our last poll that we're going to pull up. True or false? Adults need less sleep as they age. It's close. And about 57% said that's false. This one is actually, no, you need the same amount of sleep as you get older. What has been indicated is that for people when they age, your sleep might get a little bit more fragile. And that's why, you might be more susceptible to getting up, or, distractions, or something might wake you up from that sleep. But if you are getting less sleep as you age, that might be an indicator of some change in health status. And that's where, talking to someone like to Dr. Lisa Weeks would be a good start to go on. Okay, so let's have Colleen take it away.
Hi, everyone. Colleen Santini with Soul Trek. Sleeping better. So I teach yoga and meditation, and I do private consultations. I have online yoga classes every day. And to sleep better, you need to move, breathe, and reduce your mental chatter. And I'm going to talk a little bit about those things. One of the things that really affects people is hormones, which Dr. Lisa can help with. But as women in particular go through menopause, they do have sleep issues, and there are different things that you can do. And I would suggest that you talk to someone like Dr. Lisa, who specializes in hormones. There are oils, of course, that you can use. And Darrell's clinic is very wonderful, having all the tools like infrared saunas and beautiful therapists to give you osteo and massage. So one of the things is what's left undone will stay and play in your mind. And sometimes that contributes. If you have traumas, trauma is generally something that has happened that you don't fully understand. And you don't fully understand it either because you have something to say that you didn't get to say, or you didn't fully understand what was happening to you or why. And so this plays in the mind and it stays with you. And getting some kind of therapeutic help to deal with your traumas can really help release things. And those things can keep you awake. Our mind plays over and over again what it does not understand. So one of the things that you can do to help yourself is complete your cycles. And that means complete your tasks for the day. So sometimes people have a really long project and it's going to take a long time. So you can't complete that in a day, but you can complete a little part of it. And if you know when you're going to come back to it, your mind will let it go because it's already got a plan for that. You can complete your communications, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that means. And it's like understand fully what is said to you and allow full understanding of what you say to other people. Go ahead and flip to the next slide, please. Okay, our communication habits can create stress or clarity depending on how you do them. So communication has a clear cycle, and just like being pregnant, you can't be a little bit pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant. So communication cycles are the same. Communication cycles are complete or they're not complete. And communication is a real thing. Sometimes people think that because we can't see it, it's not real, but it's real. And a complete communication cycle clears the mind, whereas an incomplete cycle gets stored in the mind. So if you think about things that happened when you were a kid that you didn't fully understand, they're still with you. They're still hanging around. And so completing those cycles can free your energy up so that you have more energy during the day, and you also get a better rest at night because it's not playing on your mind. Next slide, please. Okay, complete communication cycles have clear steps. So communication takes place between two or more people. So there's a speaker and there's one or more listeners. The speaker has to get clear on what it is they're trying to communicate. And if they don't get clear, they're not going to give a clear communication. So first of all, and sometimes you have an emotion that you want to get across and you don't have to get clear because it's so clear and it comes out of you. Ah! So you still have gotten clear. So then the speaker delivers that communication, and you don't deliver it to the ether. You deliver it directly to the person who's listening, to the person that you're wanting to have receive it. Sometimes people, they will, instead of directing the communication to who they want to communicate with, they direct it somewhere else. My birds will do this too. They'll bite me when they're mad at somebody else because I'm close. So we do that as people too. So you deliver the communication, then the listener has an option. The listener can receive it or not receive it. So if the listener doesn't receive it, it's an incomplete communication for the speaker. And it might be an incomplete communication for the listener as well. So the listener chooses to receive the communication, and then the listener also has to understand it. And that's a separate step. You can receive a communication and not fully understand it. So if you receive a communication, a lot of times people they're shy to say, I didn't understand what you said, or I didn't know what you meant. I understood every word, but I still didn't understand what you meant. I'm unclear about this. So as a listener, it's your responsibility, if you're receiving a communication and you want to receive that communication, to recognize whether you understand the communication or not. Because if you don't understand it, the speaker might feel that you've gotten the communication, but you know inside that you haven't, and it's going to play on your mind. So then once the listener has understood the communication, the listener needs to acknowledge the speaker and let them know that they received the communication and that they understood it. And then the speaker receives the acknowledgement. So that listener is sending that acknowledgement to the speaker. The speaker receives the acknowledgement, and then the speaker and the listener both know that the communication is complete and both minds can rest, or several minds can rest if there's several listeners. So this is a complete communication cycle. And as you can see, the cycle can break down at any place. It can break down with the speaker not getting clear. It can break down with the speaker not delivering the communication. It can break down when the listener receiving it or not receiving it, not understanding it, not acknowledging. That's a big one. And the speaker needs to receive the acknowledgement. So sometimes that doesn't happen. And the speaker and the listener all need to know that the communication cycle is complete. So there's lots of places for this to break down. One thing you should know about incomplete communication cycles is that there's no blame. It's just incomplete. And so you just carry on until it is complete. And this will allow your mind to rest and take the chatter out of your space. All right, I have my next slide. We will take care of that during the yoga portion. And so we'll go to Rebeka.
All right, so what can you do next? So you heard from all four of us tonight, and everyone who registered, you're automatically going to get the recording for tonight, so you can, listen as many times as you want. We're also giving you that checklist that Darrell mentioned, and it's an incredible checklist. It has a bunch of things that we talked about tonight, so you're already getting that. For the keeners who are listening, if you want more stuff, and just before we started, all four of us said, I want this package. So what we have a little bit of a action thing for you. we have a Facebook page. It's the BNI Healthcare Facebook page. I'm going to put the link in the chat right now. If you like our page and find this post, it's the latest one that just posted. It says, what was your biggest takeaway? Comment below and we'll send you a bonus PDF. So if you want that bonus PDF is going to give you access to a free yoga session with Colleen, a free infrared sauna offer from Darrell, a low glycemic meal plan from Dr. Lisa, opportunity to take part of a sleep study, which gets you some free oils and supplements to try for your sleep, a promo code for an order if you'd like. And all of us are giving you a free 15-minute call to talk about any of your needs and how and if we can help you. So that is for bonus. So you have to do a little bit more work with that. It's not hard. Click on that link in the chat, like the page, find that post, comment what your biggest takeaway was, and we're going to be direct messaging all of you with this. If you don't have Facebook, that's totally fine. Email back to the email that emailed you about this webinar, and we're going to get it to you via email, as long as you let us know your takeaway. All right, so for the Q&A, we've been typing back a lot of answers, so I'm sure all of you can see that. There's a couple more left open, and if you do have any more questions, feel free to type them now, and we're going to answer them live just for a minute or two before we get into the yoga with Colleen. So Greg asked, do you recommend CBD or THC supplements to help with staying asleep? So I'll open that up to the panel.
Yeah, so I can start if you want. So THC, because it's the psychoactive component, sometimes people get paranoid. And with THC, sometimes you can get a dependence, right? So you might need more, it's not working as well. CBD, people are finding potentially some benefit. I'm not an expert and I don't prescribe it because that's not in my scope, but I have had people use it and feel a difference, especially if there's anxiety and pain, right? But you do want to have someone who's trained in giving you proper dosages and like going up slowly, right? You don't want to hit yourself with a sledgehammer. You want to find the minimum effective dose. So there are medical doctors who are actually trained in prescribing CBD with or without maybe small amounts of THC, but you'd have to connect with them. I'm definitely not an expert, so I don't guide people on those prescriptions. I refer them out. So some people can benefit, but it's not the end all be all for everybody.
And that kind of leads to the next question. So someone was asking about our opinions on cannabis products like CBD oils for sleep.
Yeah.
I think I just touched on that, right? Or does anyone else want to add anything?
I can just bump it from the sleep doctor. He said that he's excited about this area, but there's definitely more study that needs to be done.
Yeah.
So to be
Great. Thanks, Arthur, too. Yeah, the Apollo Clinic. Yep. So if you go to Spectrum Therapeutics, too, they have like a provider or, doctor referral section. So you can see who's trained and able to prescribe it as well. Spectrum is the pharmacist. Yeah. So there's different clinics that use Spectrum Therapeutics. It's a pretty well-known brand, if you will.
Yeah. And then the last question here is, who would you like to have as a fifth permanent panelist going forward? That's a great question. We'll have to see who we can join on our health team. Yes, you can send a response to Darrell's email. Yes, if you type your takeaway, we're going to make sure that you also get that bonus PDF with all the free yoga and sauna and all that. So that is totally fine. Darrell also just put his email in the chat. For anyone who doesn't have Facebook, we want to make sure we catch everyone. If there's not any more questions. Oh, are there? Let me just make sure.
One more question. What about so someone's struggling to get back to sleep in the middle of the night? Any tips there?
I have. Yeah, go Colleen.
So I have a friend who says that when he gets up in the middle of the night, what he does is he does something that he needs to do, but that he doesn't like to do. I think that would put me back to sleep pretty fast.
And one of my friends, Teresa, she's actually a menopause certified expert. She answered this on a talk that we had a couple months ago. And she said, when you wake up in the middle of the night, you just stay lying down and close your eyes and just focus on your breathing. Do everything you can to not move around or turn on a light or look at your phone. Like, don't do anything that would wake you up. So notice that you're awake, do some breaths and just think in, like, breathe in, breathe out, breathe, just focus on that. Don't start thinking about your to-do list the next day. So pretty much she says, do everything you can to just keep your body focused on breathing and sleeping, right? Because I think some of us are like, oh, I'm awake, I'm going to check my phone, or I'm going to go turn on the light in the living room, but just stay still and focus on your breathing.
One of the things that menopause, when it hit me, did cause me to have issues with sleep, and I don't have a lot of menopausal symptoms any longer, but evening primrose oil doesn't work for everybody, but it did work for me, and I still like to take it, because if I stop taking it, then I do have a restless sleep. And so I know that doesn't work for everybody, but it can help. And if it does help, then it will help you to have a longer sleep and a more steady sleep.
Yeah, that's a great option. That's a good support for menopause. And then, yeah, bioidentical hormone creams I can prescribe. So it's like, what's the reason you're waking up, right? Is it cortisol dysregulation? Is it hormones? Is it something else?
And I also wanted to say something to the people who, the question of exercise. I think I think it depends on the exercise, just as Cam said. There are exercises that are more conducive to calming your mind and calming your body, and there are other exercises that pump you up and get you excited and get you motivated. And I think probably the beginning of the day, you might want to do those motivating exercises. And at the end of the day, if you wanted to exercise hard, you do it earlier, like in the early evening, and then in the late evening, if you wanted to do some stretches, there are some lovely stretches that are very good and very calming, and we'll probably do a few of those.
There's one more question that didn't make it into the Q&A, if the panel can help answer. So the question was on shift work hygiene, right? So people who work shifts, what are some of your recommendations for them? Because it's definitely a flipped schedule for them.
Yeah, that's tricky. So depends. Yeah, some people will shift every week or two, right? And that's really hard on the system. But if you're having the same kind of shifts all the time, then you'll probably want to use melatonin, right? So then your body knows it's time to sleep. You know, you still kind of want to have a similar routine with your meals, but it's obviously going to be shifted, right? So you can take your melatonin when there's shift work. You know, it could take 15, 30, 60 minutes, depending on what type. If you do one under the tongue, a spray under the tongue, you absorb it quicker, but that can really tell your body to sleep, and you're going to want to dim, you know, like have the blackout blinds and the mask, because you're probably going to have to sleep in the day, right? So really kind of having a regular routine if it's possible, kind of mimicking a regular work day, sleep day, but it might be shifted by 12 hours. But I think that regularity with your meals, the wake time, the sleep time, still trying to get that 7 or 9 hours of sleep is really important.
Perfect.
Yep. And the last question, so to receive the takeaway items, so if you're on Facebook, I've seen a whole bunch of posts already, so you can just comment under that photo. If you don't have Facebook, you're just going to email Darrell what your takeaway was, and we will reply back by the weekend with that wonderful PDF that we mentioned.
Don't go away yet. Colleen is going to lead us into a closing meditation and yoga. Just want to say I have worked with Colleen on a couple of things when I had some challenges at the beginning of COVID, and she's very thoughtful and caring in the way she deals with, you know, your challenges and issues that are coming up. So highly recommend her. And, you know, she's also offering a free yoga session if you join her one of her yoga sessions for the first time. So something that is great to check out. But Colleen, please take it away for the closing.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. And now I just want to lead you in a couple of postures that will be very calming for the body, and some breathing techniques that are also very calming for the body. Darrell, I love Darrell's. Darrell's got his glasses on.
I was never in fashion, so I might as well just use this to help me sleep.
Well, it's pretty fashionable. You look like the Men in Black. That's
Oh, thank you. Someone said
Yeah.
I was a Terminator, so I'll take both.
all right. If you have a yoga mat or a chair, let's get ourselves onto the floor. And one of the things that is helpful is to stretch the body out and allow the body to just really relax. So one of the things we're going to start is starting on your back. You can extend your legs out, and we're going to go into a banana posture. Now, not everybody likes this, but it is it gives a very nice stretch. So you start on one side of your mat. Your hips are on one side of your mat. And then you're going to walk your legs over to the other side of your mat and your chest over to the other side of the mat and stretch your arms up. And so you kind of look like a banana. And this gives a beautiful stretch on the waist where we don't get a nice stretch often. It gives a beautiful stretch. And just breathe. Good. And then come back to center. And we're going to walk. We're going to do the other side now. So bring your hips over to the other side of your mat. And then walk your legs over to the opposite side and your chest. And stretch. Stretching out that waist and giving yourself a nice, big, long stretch. Breathe. Allow yourself to be in this moment. Let go of any lists that you're keeping, and just for this short period of time, just be with yourself, be with your body, listening to yourself, listening to how it feels to be in your body right now. And then we'll come back to the middle of our mat and come to a sitting position. So something that is really conducive to letting go of the mind chatter is having a forward bend. And if you open one side of it's like open one side. And we're going to bend first on the side, opening up to the side. And this will release the tensions in the back. And when you're doing this stretch, you want to try and have your back pretty straight so that the hinge is actually here rather than here. We're not hinging here. We're hinging at the waist. And then you can turn around and look at your knee and and then fold forward towards your knee. Gently, you can notice where your breath is going. In this bent over posture, you can really open your back lungs. Good. And then come on up and we'll do the other side. All right. On the side. So your back is nice and long. If you have trouble, like sometimes people have, their pelvises are tilted backwards. So you could put a cushion under your hips to help you with this posture, if that helps for you. And coming down on the side, give yourself a nice stretch. Try and hinge at the hip, keeping your back nice and long. Beautiful stretch. And now we're going to rotate and look at our knee and fold forward towards our knee. So take a nice, slow, restful pace to your postures before bed. And come on up, and we'll do a forward bend. So you can do a forward bend this way with your legs together, or you can do a forward bend with your legs nice and wide. And if you do it with your legs together, you get more of a compression, which is very good for squeezing toxins out of your body, and it helps your lymph system. And if you do it this way, it gives you a nice stretch on the legs, and this also helps your lymphatic system. So you can bring your hands in front of you, and it doesn't matter, you know, it's like if you're here and that gives you a good stretch, that's fine. And if you're almost on the ground and that gives you a good stretch, so you need to listen to your own body. Listen to what feels good. You want a stretch that's between a 4 and a 7 in intensity out of 10 to feel really good. You want delicious stretches. We're going after delicious, yummy stretches that make your body feel really good. And you may notice in this posture that your mind just relaxes. Good, releasing the posture. We'll come into a twisted posture. So for the twisted posture, you want to come down on the ground, and you want one leg to be really long, and then the other knee, you're going to roll over on your hip and just give yourself a nice little twist. It's really lovely, relaxing the body. If you need to, you can put something under your knee. Your hand can be on the floor behind you, or it can be on your hip. Just a nice little twist. Breathing and coming into the present moment. Let go of anything after or anything before. And now we'll roll over onto the other side. So you switch legs, coming to the back, make the other leg long, and bend that first knee, and then roll over on this side. Really nice, beautiful, simple, gentle twist. And then rolling back onto your back, we'll just do a little short breathing exercise, a belly breathing. So often people don't breathe into their bellies, they breathe in their chests, and their breath is kind of shallow. So if you are lying on your back, you can have your knees bent with your feet wide apart so your knees are falling into each other, and this supports your lower back. You can take one hand and put it on your belly. And as you breathe in, I want you to pay attention to your breath. I want you to push your hand up as you breathe in. And allow your hand to lower, deflating the belly as you breathe out. And another thing that helps is to breathe in through the nose and inflate the belly. And out through the mouth, deflating the belly. This is a very calming breath. And then you can do that for 10 or 20 minutes before bed, or when you get up in the middle of the night, you can do that. And then the last posture I'm going to show you, you can stay in if you want to. You can bring your hips up against the wall, or like I have, against a window with a cushion in it. And just let yourself relax. And 10 minutes of up the wall will really help with mind chatter and relax the body. And an added benefit of this posture is that it also relaxes the psoas muscle. So if you have a tight psoas muscle, this is a great posture, because what happens is you are not holding your legs in this position. The wall is, and your legs are falling into the hip sockets, and your psoas muscle can just relax.
I think
You are
everyone fell
welcome.
asleep, Colleen.
Pardon?
Said I think everyone fell asleep.
I think that's great.
Thank you so much for that. Oh, there comes Darrell. He's waking up. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of this night. I've already seen a bunch of beautiful takeaways on our Facebook page. So if you haven't done that, don't forget to do that. We're going to be sending it out on the weekend. So you have a day or two to respond, and we're going to make sure you get that bonus PDF.
Just before everyone says goodbye, I have this ending quote here. I think it's befitting for COVID. Thank you very much, Colleen, for taking us through that exercise. The quote here is, "I don't need a hairstylist. My pillow gives me a new hairstyle every morning."
I love it.
Great ending quote. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.